Hello and welcome. My name is Jeannie Shop, and I would like to welcome all of you for taking the time to listen to this short little blurb to you. So, I come to you from my company, Pathways Towards Literacy, and I'm here to talk to you about this upcoming book titled Reading Isn't Optional: Fulfilling the Promise of Literacy for Secondary Students. And I would like to have you get to know all the contributing authors and their work and why they chose to say yes to this book. So, first, I would like to introduce you, Jennifer. So, Jennifer, to begin, could you just talk about yourself a little bit and share what you want people to know about you and the work that you do in secondary literacy?
Absolutely. So I started out as an elementary teacher, and that was great. Taught first grade, didn't know how to teach reading, so lots to learn. But then I moved in to be the multilingual learner coordinator for pre-K 12 in the school district in Alaska that I worked in, and that expanded my horizons greatly. And so that through many other roles, instructional coach, district office specialist, state office literacy leader, as well as the state director here in Utah for a number of years. I spent a decade at the state. I'm in recovery now, doing educational consulting now, and really spend my days coaching, building leadership teams on evidence-based literacy practices so they can impact student learning, conducting instructional audits to find out like where are those kind of easy places that we can start to get some big wins just through shifting our instructional priorities in literacy. I collaborate at the state, district, and school level, looking at literacy initiatives and how we can improve outcomes for learning, and then as well as design and facilitate professional learning and really learn a lot from working with educators on a daily basis. And finally, do a lot of systems coaching and implementation science to really help realize the potential of these, great ideas that our leaders have in our schools and our districts and our states, but how to actually get the results that they are desiring out of the work that they do on a daily basis. And so this book was really exciting because it really hit that often ignored secondary literacy space. Like I spend a lot of time in the K-3 work, but there's so much need in secondary when kids haven't learned those skills and teachers feel overwhelmed with how do I get kids to read this book or this article when I have a lot of kids who can't read. And so was super excited when you reached out, Jeannie, and like, would love you to do a chapter. And my passion is around how do you scaffold kids in text so that all kids can read grade level text, not just those that are already ready to do so. So great opportunity.
Yes, and that's why I'm like, okay, Jen has to write a chapter in this because being in the secondary space myself and having my own daughters, go through high school and be subjected to round robin reading and popcorn reading and reading out loud. And my daughter, who was, I think, in a science class her junior year biology, a dyslexic kid, was asked to read out loud, and the shame that that carried, but in all reality teachers just don't have the training and the knowledge on how to support all children get access to grade level text. So what do? Is they hand them a graphic novel that's not at grade 9, right?
Yep.
Text complexity and vocabulary with the syntax, or they do popcorn reading or round robin or just who wants to read. And
Yeah.
so then we deal with motivation and engagement in the upper grades and secondary. So, what inspired you then to focus on your chapter regarding scaffolding, and why is this topic so critical for improving secondary literacy today?
Absolutely. So one of the things that you hit on there was like secondary teachers are content specialists. They know their content really well. They have deep expertise, but very few of them were ever trained on how to help kids access that content. And that's the part that I'm really passionate about and why I chose that for the chapter in the book is to really say teachers are willing. They're more than willing to do the things. They just don't know what those things are. And so the book has several easy to implement strategies. I'm a low prep teacher, knowing that teachers are so busy doing all the things of teaching that we really want to make the efforts that we put in as low prep as possible so we can really spend time looking at how students are responding to our instruction and make those adjustments. And so I spent a decade, like I said, at the state office, and having met with thousands of educators over the years, kept hearing this: my kids can't read. My kids can't read. How do you expect me to put kids in text when they can't read? And they don't truly mean they can't read. Most kids in secondary have some basic phonics and can decode. It's just not automatic. It's not yielding comprehension. And so, how do we support them in knowing the strategies that really will allow kids who aren't proficient readers to be able to access that grade level content. And a lot of it just comes down to how teachers can mediate that text. And in the work that I did at the state level and even in my school districts, we saw gains in foundational skills, but those weren't translating to text. And a lot of that is we don't spend enough time in text. I was doing instructional audits in a community, and the school was 3 minutes, 6 minutes, and 18 minutes in a 30-minute comprehension lesson. And teachers are always super surprised when you tell them how long kids actually spent reading in their comprehension lesson. And the same thing happens in secondary. There's a lot of questioning, there's a lot of conversations, there's a lot of teacher kind of talking about what the text is about, but there's so little reading going on because people are a little intimidated by getting a variety of learners into grade level text. And so this chapter is really an entry point for teachers to say, okay, give me some easy to implement strategies that will help me help my kids access the content that I really do want them to read and value and appreciate so that they can value and appreciate the content that I'm helping them to acquire. And so just thinking about teachers needed more support, and this chapter was a way to provide that.
And I am so excited for this chapter because I can just see so many teachers just grabbing that strategy here and just easy implement, and they're going to feel really successful in their classrooms and they're going to get reach all readers, right?
Yeah.
Super exciting. So what do you think, what is one takeaway? There are many, many, many takeaways from your chapter. That's why I'm so excited about it. But what would you say would be the one key idea or takeaway you hope school leaders and teachers will apply after reading your chapter? And we don't want to give them all because your chapter is going to be amazing. It is amazing.
Well, I think the one like overarching takeaway is that we don't need to change the text. We need to change how we deliver that text. So a lot of teachers are going and finding ways to make it a lower Lexile, like taking it to AI and saying, hey, reduce the Lexile to this level, because then more of my kids can access it. But that really isn't decelerating learning. We want to accelerate learning. Kids need to put in more challenging text. We have dozens of research studies that tell us that kids actually accelerate their reading progress when we're put in more challenging text with appropriate scaffolding. And so instead of spending that time and energy of finding different texts on lower readability levels, we really can spend that time and energy thinking, what's hard about this text? And how do I mediate that so my kids can have access to it instead of going out and trying to find different texts? And so if we want our students to get better at reading, we have to spend time reading, but we also need to give them the opportunity to have, quality access to that. It's one thing just to put them in front of text. This isn't, just throwing them in the deep end and hoping they learn to swim, but saying, okay, we know it's going to be deep. What floaties can I put on this kid to help them stay afloat in the deep end so that they can still navigate those waters and come, stay above water. And so I think
And
that's the big takeaway for me.
that's great. I love that one because you just remind me like this book is for not just the English language arts teachers. These are for all areas in secondary space. And as you alluded to already, the content area teachers, I mean, they're focused on delivering their content, right? And so
Yeah,
what's great about your book is it helps content area teachers bridge content area literacy, disciplinary literacy, and then support all children to read and have access to that grade level text that they really need to have.
absolutely. That's the hope and prayer. And having me done the elementary edition, so I wrote a book called Raising Up Readers, and it's strategies, the similar strategies what we have in this chapter, because the strategies in that book are K-12 appropriate, but the book is elementary examples. Having done and presented and facilitated professional learning with teachers, they're like, this is so doable. And now I have entry points of how to help my students and what to look for to say what could be hard about this text, to know how to scaffold it. That's really exciting to me, and to be able to bring that into the secondary space is where it's so important and so needed. I'm excited for April when the book comes out, so that more
Yeah.
people can have that opportunity to help their kids.
Right, and we can pre-order in January. It'll be in
Nice.
its form in people's hands in April, and I'm super excited because your chapter is really critical piece, right? We can strategize, we can have vocabulary, we can have writing, but in all reality, we are not going to improve reading outcomes if we don't support kids getting access
And
to
reading.
grade level text,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. I think it's one of the more critical parts of this work. Like, we need oral language, we need academic discourse happening in classrooms, we need kids writing, but what are they writing about? What they read. But you have to read something to have something to write about. So it's a good opportunity. And I think the compilation of chapters will really empower teachers to know what to do in their classrooms more than they even know today.
All right. And where can they find you? If who can
My
you?
website's Impactful Learning Designs. My LinkedIn just Jennifer Throndsen. My last name is on the screen. It's probably the easiest way to figure out how to spell it. But yeah, Impactful Learning Designs and LinkedIn. I also have an Instagram, JT Travel 32. If you want travel tips as
Well,
well as
I love your
educational
travel
snippets.
tips. I'll be reading into that.
57 countries in, I've got things to share.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Jen, for saying yes to being a part of this book and for all the work that you do around the country to support reading and improving reading outcomes for children in grades, K through 12. So thank you.
Thank
And
you. Appreciate
well,
the
I look forward to
opportunity.
this journey together.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.